Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. Across the country in these very important midterms, the two parties seem to have very different strategies in terms of how they're running their campaigns. The Democrats want to focus on a few key issues, especially healthcare. And on the right, they are trying to strip every voter they can from being able to actually vote come November 6th. And we have an example of, if not intentionally, a case where certainly many people are going to find it difficult to vote in one of Alabama's congressional districts. We are joined now by the Democratic nominee in that district, Mallory Hagan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good and very glad to have you here. So let's talk about what's going on there. Your campaign has said that apparently more than 55,000 voters have disappeared or been taken off of the rolls in your district alone. What's actually going on there?
Well, so last week, looking at the news nationally and seeing the different states that are having voter suppression issues or ID issues, we decided to form a voter protection committee, and that's headed by Attorney Fred Gray Jr., son of Attorney Fred Gray, who represented Rosa Parks. And what we wanted to do was just make sure people had a resource. And in order to do that and be fair in our protection of voters, we sent a Freedom of Information request to our Secretary of State's office. Our Secretary of State is John Merrill. And what we found was that roughly 55,000 voters in Alabama's 3rd district alone have been removed or deemed inactive. And so, we wanted to bring attention to that and allow people the opportunity to be aware that they might be inactive. And what we're seeing now is that this might be a bigger issue than we initially thought. We have actually requested more information so that we can deem whether those people were taken off because they died or they committed a felony, or if there's some other reason that they might be removed from the voter rolls. And so we're looking at a bit of an issue here in Alabama, and I'd like to think that it's a non-starter, but unfortunately, John Merrill got on Twitter this past weekend and tried to give me a bit of a run for my money. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is that he's being very defensive, and that leads me to believe that we've got a bigger issue on our hands.
It certainly seems like it. There's a lot of reasons, looking across the country to be worried about this. So we don't know for sure exactly what has led to all or different groups amongst that 55,000 from being taken off. But with just a couple of weeks left in your election, how concerned are you about the possibility of whatever it is actually affecting the outcome?
Well, I'm pretty concerned, and I think that this timeline might help. So our initial request, we sent in one morning, so the morning of, I think it was October 16th. And within 24 hours, we had a response from the Secretary of State's office. We were in the office, we were looking at these numbers, we got the information we requested. Our second request was more detailed, asking for the reasons, the names, the neighborhoods, and we have yet to receive a response in 7 days. And so what that tells me is if our Secretary of State's office was doing what they were supposed to be doing, and all of this was above board, then there should be no reason why they wouldn't be working with us in order to notify those voters in our district, make sure they know their rights, make sure that they are deemed active, and make sure that they can vote. But 7 days, we've heard nothing, crickets, except for a couple of spouting off moments on Twitter. We haven't had any response from the Secretary of State's office on our requests. And so that's what leads me to believe that we might have a problem. And that's why we have our voter protection committee, so that people can call into our office, figure out what their rights are, and figure out how they can vote on election day.
Okay, so while of course it's not in any way your responsibility or any one candidate's responsibility to deal with this is obviously a state problem, I am glad that you are taking it seriously and attempting to help voters who might feel like they could be disenfranchised. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, and it's our responsibility. It's all of our responsibility. If anybody knows another person who they know voted in the primary, voted in Doug Jones' special election, voted in the last presidential election, there are many people who I know and voted in all three of those here in the state of Alabama that have been deemed inactive. So it's up to us, all of us, to reach out to our friends.
So what would you like to see done, either at the state level or nationally? I mean, we're seeing what's happening in your district, Georgia and Tennessee, North Dakota. They're coming in different sort of forms, I guess, but in some of these places, 10 or more % of all of the eligible voters are being taken off of the rolls. What can we actually do? If you get into Congress, if the Democrats actually have control and can do something about it, what would you like to see done to deal with these apparently increasing problems in various states?
Well, I think there's a couple of things we can do. We can first start by electing people who take the integrity of that office seriously. We have a wonderful candidate running here in the state of Alabama. Her name is Heather Milam, and she has proposed early voting, which we don't have in this state. She has proposed automatic voter registration, which we do not have in our state. I think we can start with those very simple things. I mean, voting should not be more difficult. It is a right to every American, and I think that it's really important that we elect representatives who take that responsibility seriously. John Merrill is on the internet asking me if I'm running for Congress or running for Secretary of State. And to me, I say it's hard to run for Congress if you don't know if people can actually vote for you. So I think we have to start by electing people who hold the integrity of that office very seriously. And I look forward to seeing Heather Milam do that when she's elected on November 6th.
So obviously there are some significant concerns about the possibility of people being able to vote. But we also do know that in various parts of the country, some early turnout in states that have it is certainly up. People seem to be very excited. So I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about your campaign. So as you're going around, what is getting people fired up most in terms of the issues that are driving them to want to vote?
Oh gosh, people in Alabama are gravely concerned about healthcare and the forward movement of that in our state. We did not expand Medicaid. Our rural hospitals are closing. We just had one in our district closed. Jacksonville State Hospital closed down. And so what we're seeing is that people are very concerned about how we're going to move forward as a country. And now they're even more concerned about the concept of pre-existing conditions. And so while I've been traveling around our district listening to the concerns about healthcare, the concerns about the quality of education in Alabama, the creation of jobs, opportunity, the culture in our state. Unfortunately, our congressman is really excited about Space Force. And so I really hope that the people of Alabama's 3rd District are paying attention to what it is that we're talking about. And they're not necessarily looking at whether or not someone's a Democrat or Republican in this political climate, but whether or not that person has their best interests at heart. And that's what I have been doing since February when I announced, and that's what I will continue doing well beyond November 6th, whether I win or I don't win.
Well, thank you. Mallory Hagan, candidate in Alabama's 3rd District. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.